Tampa, Detroit. So me and you both picked Tampa to beat the Eagles. I didn't think it was going to look anything like that. I don't know if that changes your feeling on Tampa or if it was just Eagles suck so bad that it made Tampa look pretty good. Thoughts on Tampa at Detroit?
I expect that to be a close game. And if Jared Goff, his vulnerability is guys in his face, as you can say with most quarterbacks, but where he's made mistakes is when with pass rush. And what is Tampa going to do? They're going to blitz probably, upwards of 55, almost 60% of the time. I mean, and I think they're going to come after him because that's what they did with Philly. So I expect Detroit to win only because I don't believe Tampa Bay has enough offense. For 60 minutes, Detroit has more offense. But I think the formula for Tampa Bay to pull out that win as an upset is to force Goff to make mistakes. They're good against the run. And so it'll be interesting to see what Detroit running game does against that front four for Tampa Bay. I'm picking Detroit to win, but I think it could be. I mean, I think they were only favored by 3 against Philly, and I thought that could either go the other way. And you saw how that went. Detroit, I think that's gonna. I expect that to be a dog fight for 60 minutes. To be honest, I don't see Detroit pulling away and just running them off the field.
Deacon Hill.
Well, I agree also. It's going to be a good game, but I'd also pick Detroit to win the game. Philly is a train wreck. I misjudged them the whole time. I just, I thought that they would at least bounce back, but Detroit is going to be a whole different game. Philly has so many issues going on. They had a couple of their key players out anyway, but there's something internally going on in Philly that, that a lot of us don't know about. But yeah, Detroit don't have that issue, and I think Baker Mayfield is a great story, to do what he's doing. But I think that's going to come to an end when they go to Detroit. Detroit is a solid team. That was a good game with the Rams, but Detroit they keep hanging in there. They play good defense. Goff, he's proven himself. I don't think you're saying that if they stop the run or they get in his face, he's been able to move out of the pocket, make plays out of the pocket. So I think he's just going to handle his business, and Detroit will handle their business.
Do you expect it to be close?
Yeah, I think they ain't going to put up a whole lot of points. I don't think either team, ain't going to put it. I think it'll be no more than a touchdown. It'll be a close game. It won't be a blowout.
Brother James, thoughts? Bucs and Lions.
Oh, I concur with the other two, Deacon Hill and Brother Bill. But my concern was Baker Mayfield. He's nursing those ribs.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a very accurate quarterback, and he's a quarterback that can beat you with his arm. He has enough weapons to beat you with his arm, even if their running game isn't stepping to teeth. He can still beat you with his arm. But however, Detroit is solid in the secondary, and so I'm going to go with Detroit, and it's going to be close. I mean, it's probably going to be like a touchdown difference.
Okay, yeah. I think Vita Vea is going to be a nightmare for Goff the whole game, and my feeling on it is I think it's going to be a very, very intense environment. I mean, everybody from Detroit that's ever lived in Detroit or looked at Detroit was at the game the other day. I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be even bigger. I think it's going to be a very tough environment to be in. I see Baker having a tough day. I see that defense being very, very active. I see him kind of making mistakes, even though he has elite weapons. I mean, Mike Evans made Johnny Manziel a superstar, and Johnny Manziel's terrible. So I think, but I think they're gonna mess with him enough, and it's gonna be a tough enough environment that Detroit I think their defense is gonna overwhelm Baker. But I do think Goff will have a couple issues because I think Vita Vea is gonna be. I mean, Vita Vea is like the Buccaneers are the only team that stopped the tush push 2 times this year. And that's because Vita Vea's gigantic, super strong butt was right in the middle there, pushing that line right back.
Yeah, but he's more of a run stopper. I can't see him, he can get after you a little bit, but he ain't going to be chasing you around too much. If you run at him, you ain't running at him, but he ain't gonna run at you. He ain't gonna run to you either.
Yeah, I felt like last night. I mean, the Bucs. I mean, points wise, they killed the Eagles. But I felt like if they were playing a better team, I felt like they were making enough mistakes or not playing as solid that a better team would have made that game a lot closer. I kind of felt the same way about the Bills and Steelers. I feel like if the Steelers were a better team, the Bills were kind of allowing them to hang around too long. And if they were a better team, it would have been. I mean, not that the Bills wouldn't have won, but it would have been much closer. And I kind of felt like that. The Eagles they're just such a disaster. And there's no way Sirianni is the coach next year. And there's no way Matt Patricia coaches ever again, even at like the high school level. He's terrible. And I think they're going to be fired up, but I think that Detroit's going to they'll get him by a pretty solid amount.
One thing I forgot to mention is that Tampa Bay, the way they're built, they ran the ball 29 times against Philly. If they do that against Detroit and they're successful at it, Baker Mayfield doesn't have to win the game for them. I mean, they threw the ball 36 times, they ran it 29. So we talk about, if he makes mistakes, a running game is a quarterback's best friend. So if Tampa Bay is able to run the ball, again, it's the same formula for every team, control line of scrimmage. Tampa Bay's running the ball and they're successful at it and they can stick with it, they can pull it out.
Yeah, I don't see Detroit. I don't see Detroit's offense putting up a low enough amount of points for them to be able to run the ball 30 times. I think their offense is too good. I think they'll make mistakes. I think Goff will be gotten to a couple times, but man, that's a really good offense in Detroit.